Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. We are right in the middle of a Nintendo onslaught, so we are going to spend much of this episode playing catch-up on some of the bigger news stories to come out of the last two Nintendo Directs. That's right, you heard me, two Nintendo Directs. But stick around for the middle segment as we share our impressions of some of the recent and upcoming games that have hit Switch. And then at the tail end of the show, we're going to have a little bit of story time for you, as both my guest and I have recently returned from different trips over to Asia. And that guest is none other than Game Informer's own Wesley LeBlanc. Wes, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing okay. I'm on day 7 of COVID, and I feel pretty normal. I'm still testing positive, faintly. Really hoping for a negative tomorrow because, as we'll talk about later in the show, I went on a fairly long trip to Asia and missed my baby girl very much, and it was my first time away from her. Came home, had one day with her, and then tested positive for COVID, and now I'm back to no time with my daughter, and it is killing me. But I'm keeping my head up. Things are great otherwise. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I'm glad that you're feeling better. We will talk about this during story time. I also have had a medical episode this week.
This week is hopefully it never has to become a public thing. But good God, this week has just been an onslaught of personal and private and what the hell's going on this week?
There is something in the air, in the water, in probably the food supply. Well, we know there's a lot of stuff in the food supply, but something has gone horribly wrong this week, both personally and everything else. So we've been extremely busy over at Game Informer. We're getting our next issue finalized, which is very, very exciting. But we've also been covering two back-to-back Nintendo Directs. One was focused on third parties, and then the other one was focused on indies. Wes, with that in mind, do you think, as I do, by the way, full disclosure, that next week this has all been a lead up to a proper first-party Nintendo Direct?
Professionally, I hope not. I'm tired of directs. I need a break. Also, that's a week before Gamescom, which I'll be covering, and that's going to be just an onslaught of like games, impressions, and all that kind of stuff. So I could use like a chill week next week, and first party directs are typically not chill. However, I am a Switch 2 owner. I am excited about what else is coming to that console, and I do think the time is right, especially because we know Nintendo doesn't typically work with Keighley's shows these days. So I'm not expecting to get an opening night live the following week. So I think next week is a perfect slot for a first party direct. And I think it's time. We have some games that we need to learn more about, specifically Metroid Prime 4 and unannounced 3D Mario game coming in 2026, I hope.
I'm calling it now. Next week is going to be a direct. That is my I think that they're doing the lead up. Like one this week, because it was Pokemon Presents prior to that.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
And then it was the
Nintendo Partner Direct.
The Partner Direct into the indie world, which we got this time. So I think it makes sense that they would just go straight in, keep this momentum rolling, and then clear the runway for Keighley in opening night live over at Gamescom. And what a stretch that is! That this stretch has been almost as busy as like something like Summer Game Fest. Like Summer Game Fest almost feels tame right now.
It feels like it hasn't ended though. Like Summer Game Fest began, and the whole summer of gaming that Keighley always talks about, it's real. Like we are in the summer of gaming, and it is. We were just talking in Slack, like with games coming out this month and codes. It's like I'm still trying to finish Death Stranding 2, and I want to play more Donkey Kong, but I'm reviewing this and that, and then we're getting codes for this, and I'm like, it's an abundance of. Sorry, listeners, it's a very lame thing to complain about. I'm not complaining. It's a really cool part of this gig, but so many games, it's hard to keep up.
Well, I think that gamers can relate to the fact that all these games come out around the same time, and it's like, oh my God, I'm trying to devote my time to this, but I'm so excited to jump over to this.
Yeah.
Like I've certainly fallen victim to that several times, even outside of like my professional life. But I actually finished Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I had a blast with that game. I think that game is maybe my front runner for Game of the Year right now.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk more about that in a future episode that isn't so jam-packed.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the news in a second here, but before we jump into that, just a reminder that you are listening to the All Things Nintendo podcast. This show arrives in your podcast feeds completely free each and every week. But if you would like to support me and allow me to keep on making these episodes, you can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That gets you access to the community Discord, which gets priority access to Q&A episodes. But there are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you access to early and ad-free episodes, plus shoutouts at the end of every episode. Just go to patreon.com and search All Things Nintendo. It would really help the show out if you are able to join up. Otherwise, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's a completely free way to support the show. And if none of that works for you, just tell a friend. Also worth noting, I'm posting some clips over on social media. There's an official All Things Nintendo Instagram account. It's All Things Nintendo Podcast. And then TikTok and YouTube is just my own account where I'm posting many of the same clips at Brian P. Shea. Jumping right in, Wes, we have had 2 Nintendo Directs over the last 2 weeks, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Even though it was a third-party partner stream that took place last week, that apparently still includes first-party titles. Yeah. So the one I'm referring to is, of course, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Now, yes, that is developed by a third-party partner. But if you ask me, is a game that is starring Zelda, is that a first or a third-party title? I'm going to tell you it's a first-party title every single day of the week. So first of all, we got confirmation that the story is canonical in its exploration of the imprisoning wars of the Tears of the Kingdom flashbacks. So that was actually in the description of the YouTube trailer. It like explicitly said in this canonical telling of the story. And I'm like, excellent, because that was like
that was the worst part of the other one.
Yeah. But by the way, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is currently on sale on the eShop. So if you've been holding off, and I hear it runs pretty well on Switch too.
Not canon though.
Not canon, but a fun adventure with that version of Link and Zelda. We got a new trailer for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It looks at some of the playable characters, shows what, I guess, team-up moves. That's what they look like. And then the trailer also appears to end with what looks like an all-new construct that is different from anything that we saw in Tears of the Kingdom. So that all looks pretty cool.
I've seen a lot of people speculating it is like a construct Link.
Oh.
Should be interesting. Yeah,
that would
I've seen people saying like it's like human size. It's not massive like the other constructs, and it kind of has the shape of a young boy, young man like Link.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess like it makes sense. Like,
yeah, it's a Zelda game. You got to have. I'm sure Link has to appear in some fashion, and she knows Link, so it's like, why not like use my construct powers and create a Mechanolink, if you will.
Mechanolink, yes.
Yeah.
What is your hype level for this out of 10?
I don't know. Probably like a 6, which is weird because I really, really, really liked Fire Emblem Three Hopes, which was the Musou game in the Fire Emblem series. And now I'm blanking. Three Houses, the Three Houses Musou spinoff. I really enjoyed that. And that was my first Musou game in a long time. I used to love the Dynasty Warriors games on like PS2 and stuff. And I still need to check out the new one this year. But for some reason, and I think it's Age of Calamity's fault, like I just am not like super hyped for this game because I just didn't really care for Age of Calamity and how it handled Musou and how it handled the story and stuff. But I'm sure like if I go hands on with this game, I'll be like all in because I really do like the formula and I obviously love that world. I just finally actually rolled credits on Tears of the Kingdom in February, I think earlier this year. So my love is still there for it. And I do like that world a lot. So yeah, but like, I don't know. I think I just need to like actually play it for my hype to go up because it feels very much like I know what this is type of game. And truthfully, I wasn't like dying to know more about that war when I was playing Tears of the Kingdom. Like I wasn't like, what's Zelda up to? The cutscenes were giving me enough. So I'm not like anxious to see what shenanigans she was getting up to. I have a pretty good idea, and it's probably killing millions of moblins and other creatures.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, I'll take any new Zelda content that we can get. I was probably at a 6 as well until they did confirm that it's canonical, and now it's probably up to a 7.
It's weird that this is the last of our time in this universe, theoretically. Like, they've made it pretty clear they're done, like they're not doing a sequel to Tears. So maybe there's more spin-offs, but like this could be the last of this Hyrule as we know it.
Yeah, it could be. Or they might double back and be like, oh, no, let's do another one because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have sold gangbusters. So let's just keep the ball rolling. Who
Check
knows?
back in 7 years.
Exactly. So Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment comes to Switch 2 this winter. Still don't have a release date on that one. Next up, we are getting a new entry in a franchise that has given us what I think many people I've seen on social media consider one of the best RPGs of the last several years. That is Octopath Traveler 0. It's a prequel to the rest of the series, and it's going to introduce several new features to the core formula, including the ability to play as a custom protagonist for the first time in the series.
Very cool.
And it's actually coming to Switch 2, Switch, and every other major platform on December 4th. Wes, have you played any of the Octopath games?
I've played a lot of 1, didn't beat it, just because I kind of got bored in the last third or so, or back half. And I have 2, but I have not played it because despite hearing how incredible it is and how it is probably one of the best RPGs released in recent years, that 80-hour playtime on it is very scary and tough with our current onslaught of games that has just been going on for a year now. But I really do want to play it. I love what Octopath is doing, and I've heard 2 fixes pretty much all my issues I have with 1. So it's going to happen one day. It's going to happen.
Yeah, that's almost the exact experience I have had. I have it on, I think I have it on my Switch.
I think I have it on multiple consoles.
Well, I have Octopath Traveler 1 on Switch because it originally was exclusive to Switch.
Yeah.
And I probably put a good 15 hours into that. And then I kind of just faded away from it. I remember I went to Nintendo of America to play Octopath Traveler 1 before it came out. It was like a big feature that we were doing. This was when we were relaunching our website, which was the current, the initial version of the current website that you see at GameInformer.com. We were launching it, and we wanted a big feature to go alongside it. So I went to Nintendo of America, played Octopath Traveler, interviewed the developers about it, and we kind of simultaneously launched the website and the magazine with this beautiful Octopath Traveler feature. So, I got a lot of insight there. I enjoyed what I played, but just didn't have enough momentum to push me through.
Yeah.
And Octopath Traveler 2 is a game that I have had so many people whose opinions I respect and I often agree with tell me that this game absolutely slaps.
Yeah.
And I just have not had the time to play it. And I say that as somebody who is currently in between professional obligations, playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom again. So I know if I really wanted to play it, I could, but also I want my comfort food gaming right now, man. Life is rough.
we need the comfort food in these trying times. Yes.
So Octopath Traveler 0 is coming out this December. I hope I'll get around to it. It's a prequel, so there's no baggage you have to worry about or anything like that, presumably. So
maybe shorter too. Sounds like it might be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick turnaround this time, so maybe it is. Speaking of that beautiful HD 2D visual style, we got an announcement and a demo of another Square Enix game that uses that aesthetic, and that is The Adventures of Eliot, the Millennium Tales. This is from the team behind games like Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default, and it's described as an action RPG, and you play as Eliot as you investigate a threat that is going to destroy his kingdom. And honestly, watching the trailer, I have not played the demo yet, but watching the trailer, it looks like just an absolutely gorgeous Zelda-like.
Yeah.
So much so that you even have your own fairy who's named Faye, which, not real original, but whatever. And you can fight with swords, bows, chains, sickles, and magic. And there are 7 weapons in total. You can equip different items to strengthen your weapons. Faye can also attack and pick up items. You can control Eliot and Faye separately, or 2 players can control them at the same time for a little bit of co-op action. Again, this is one of those games where it's I'm itching to play it. I just haven't had the time. But have you checked this out yet?
No, I've not played it either. I have been seeing a lot of the same things you are. People are saying this is like a HD 2D top-down Zelda, which honestly sounds really awesome. And I haven't really found my game in HD 2D that keeps me, as we've kind of already talked about here. And I think maybe something more active like this action RPG might be the trick.
I wonder if Live Alive might be up your alley.
I tried Live Alive, and I did the The one that I did like the prehistoric time period, and I did the Chinese martial arts time period, I think it was. And then I just kind of got bored with whatever I chose next, which might have been the modern day fighting thing. I don't know. I don't really vibe with the combat in the game. I like everything else it's doing, but the combat didn't really work for me.
Fair enough. Well, Adventures of Eliot is set to arrive next year, and again, haven't played the demo, but I have to say it looks absolutely incredible. And I'm so happy that Square Enix is using the HD 2D style for genres other than RPGs. Like, I'm hoping this is like setting a precedent, and we're gonna follow through on this with, you know, new branches of different genres that can utilize this HD 2D. Do you have a dream project that would use HD 2D? I mean, the obvious answer that I'm going to throw out there, that because maybe you'll snatch it up, is Final Fantasy VI remade in HD 2D.
Yeah, that was the answer I was going to go with. My other answer has been dashed because it's happening next month and it's not HD 2D, but I always thought Tactics would be a really great HD 2D home. And I'm a little, honestly, kind of bamboozled on how it's not an HD 2D game, like their remake. But apparently Tactics is, don't quote me, but Tactics is one of the games that Square Enix infamously lost code for back in the early 2000s because they just weren't keeping track of this stuff. And so maybe it's harder to build an HD 2D game like that. I don't know. That was like the one I wanted after 6. Beyond that, like, you know what this would be cool is something Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts has a fun lineage of like the spin-offs being more handheldy and on a 2D plane, or like a not 2D plane, but something that could fit in that world. And I think it'd be really cool to see a Kingdom Hearts that like dives into that art style in between Kingdom Hearts 4. But I don't want Square Enix or Tetsuya like adding any more Kingdom Hearts to the plate. Brother, get Kingdom Hearts 4 out. Like, come on.
Hey,
and finish Final Fantasy 7 first, I guess. Yeah.
We did get that look at Kingdom Hearts 4 a few months ago, and it's looking pretty.
Yeah, it is, but we got lots of looks for Kingdom Hearts 3, and then that game took freaking forever to come out too. So like, I need dates.
Yeah, fair enough. We also got plenty of other announcements in this partner direct, but I'm just going to run down a few of the big ones that stuck out to me. So Persona 3 Reload is coming to Switch 2 on October 23rd. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is coming to Switch 2 on November 14th. And Plants vs. Zombies Replanted is coming to Switch 2 and Switch 1 on October 23rd. Any of those that you want to talk about at all?
Yes. What was the first one you mentioned?
Persona 3 Reload, of course.
Oh, yes. I think this is where I'm going to play. I think this is where I'm going to play Persona 3 Reload. I wanted to play it on PS5, didn't get around to it, and now Switch 2 seems like the proper home for it. And also, Sparking Zero on Switch 2 sounds awful. Handheld. Like that, you're going to break your console if you play that game.
It is an intense fighting
controller. Game. Yeah, get a pro controller if you're going to do that. Plants vs. Zombies, never got into, but I know people like those games, so I'm happy for that crowd.
I was looking over the stats of some of these games, and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, when it comes to Switch 2, is going to have more than 180 fighters, which is wild. I know a lot of them, it's like, well, there's like 27 versions of Goku or something like that, but like
fusions and all that. But that's why the game is so fun and also so broken, is like there's no balance. It's just like, which is as it should be. Tien is not going to beat a powered up Goku, and I love that the game plays into that.
Yeah, I actually asked them about that during Game Informer's hiatus. I flew out to San Diego to play this and the Tekken 8 story DLC that was coming out. This was back in like September of last year, and I asked them, I was like, all right, well, like, how do you take into consideration like balance versus like having like a true to lore strength set here for these characters? And he's like, oh yeah, we definitely are gonna play into how these characters actually are in terms of their power sets. And I'm all for that in a game like this. Like, they're not shooting to be an Evo. They're just trying to make a really fun game. And like, it's like, all right, well, yeah, if you want to have a low power character try to beat like Super Saiyan Goku, like, good luck. Like, you better be really good.
Yeah.
Plants vs. Zombies is one that I am extremely extremely excited about. Like, it's been around forever, right? Like it was I think it might be the first game I ever owned on Steam was Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh, wow.
I remember like, cause I downloaded Steam because I heard like that was the best way to get that game on your laptop. And I just, had a laptop, downloaded it and played it there. And I was completely obsessed. I think I wrote a review for it back when it came to Xbox Live Arcade. And I remember just being like, all right, this is like one of the greatest games I've ever played at the time. I think it's still my favorite tower defense style game. And I will absolutely play the crap out of it when it comes out. And also they're adding a couple new features to this, like aside from it looking crisper because they're up-resing the textures and everything. They're adding local co-op and PvP, which I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm interested to learn more. And then Persona 3 Reload, simply one of the best RPGs of 2024 and a remake of one of the most beloved RPGs of all time. So what more do you need to know?
I have a tattoo appointment for September scheduled for a Persona 5 tattoo on my leg. And I'm very excited for it. And I'm trying to make it like a Persona sleeve. I've never played 3. The majority of it's going to be Persona 5 because it's probably certainly one of my all-time favorite games. But I'm going to leave room for 3. And I like 4, so I'll definitely have some 4 love in there. But
you should have had that done before we went to Sega, and then you could have shown it to Hashino-san and Soejima-san.
I should have had him sketch the tattoo on my leg and then go and immediately get it tattooed somewhere.
Dude, that would have been sick.
Yeah, I would have.
That would have been the greatest thing ever.
Should have. Yeah.
Except he'd be like, I can't believe this American is asking me to like touch him while I draw
one
of these characters.
Yeah.
That would be very, very awkward, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
So that was the partner direct, which gave us some headlines, not a ton, but like some stuff to work with. We're excited about Persona 3 Reload. We're excited about Age of Imprisonment and some of these other games. Then this week came the Indie World Nintendo Direct, which gave us a large blast of games with new announcements and trailers, but I would say considerably fewer noteworthy games. So we're not going to cover all of them, but real quickly, we had Mina the Hollower, which is the studio behind Shovel Knight's, basically their homage to Zelda Link's Awakening. That's coming to Switch 2 and Switch on October 31st. There's also a free demo out now, which will have all of your progress actually able to carry over to the full game. So that's pretty cool. There's a Persona-inspired tactical RPG called Demonschool that was not a part of the US Indie World, but it was in the Japanese one. Turns out that's coming out real soon, September 3rd. And that I know that we have some people on staff who are extremely excited for that. And all you have to tell me is it's Persona inspired and, it takes place in a school. And I'm like, all right, that sounds up my alley. Yeah. And now the announcement that I was most excited about, UFO 50 available right freaking now on Switch. Yeah. That is a game that when it came out, I was like, why is this not on Switch? Like immediately. It was only on Steam, came out last year. And for some people, it was their game of the year. And for people who are not aware of what this game is, it basically takes like UFO 50 is the name of it. It basically takes like the idea behind Atari 50 and takes all these like renowned indie developers. They made full games, 50 of them together. And it basically is like imagining like, all right, this is this fictitious game developer or game publisher from the 80s and 90s, and you basically play through 50 games, and they're full games. It's not like a short type of like real quick like WarioWare style or anything. This is like these could have existed on like the NES or SNES or Genesis back in the day. Yeah. So this is like basically playing through this history of this fictitious game publisher that was extremely prolific in the 80s and 90s. And again, it's from like headed up by the guy who did Spelunky and like other
the
renowned
person and a few others. Yeah.
So these aren't just like no-name developers putting these games out. These are like actual like indie developers with extremely good chops and like a proven pedigree. So I actually bought this the moment the Indie World wrapped up and it became available because I was so stoked on this. I'm ready to jump into it.
There's a physical version coming too.
I don't need that. I'm just happy to have the game on a platform that I will I'll be able to sit down on my couch and play. Any other announcements you want to call out from the Indie World? or any other games that were referenced?
That Neverway game looks cool. It got a 2026 release date. It's like a nightmarish Stardew Valley, basically. It's a life sim RPG, but like it's spooky, which I think is really cool. And I think that might be my ticket into it. Stardew Valley type game, because I don't really vibe with Stardew Valley. But other than that, it was kind of a bit of a nothing burger Indie World Showcase. The biggest one for you and UFO Today was in like the little blitz of trailers at the end, and not even like a proper headline in the showcase, which was odd. And Mina the Hollower, we knew it was coming on Halloween, so the demo was the new news, I guess. Just kind of I don't want to say weak, because some of these games look cool, but as a showcase, pretty weak, I think.
Yeah, they kind of wrapped up, and I was waiting for like a one more thing, and maybe they're saving some of these like bigger indie releases for like a normal direct, like Hades 2 or Hollow Knight Silksong, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But yeah, let's jump right into some of this non-Nintendo Direct news ahead of the break here. We got the latest Nintendo financial report, and we won't dwell on this too much, but the Switch 2 sold more than 6 million units in its first 7 weeks, and more than 5.5 million copies of Mario Kart World. Yeah, I know. It reminds me of like those early headlines when the Switch 1 came out, and they had sold more copies of Breath of the Wild than they had Switches. Yeah. Which is like, how does that even happen? Whatever. Unfortunately, this report was too early to touch on how Donkey Kong Bonanza has done, but I imagine that's doing pretty well as well. I will be honest here, Wes. I predicted that the Switch 2 adoption rate would be a bit slower than this, but this console is absolutely flying off the shelves.
I still don't see it out and about. I was at Best Buy a couple weeks ago, and they had like a sign that said like no Switch 2s here. I don't see them at GameStops. I don't see them at Targets. I've seen one at Walmart just chilling. But I don't think it's like necessarily hard to get. If you're online, it's pretty easy to find. I've seen, but like, yeah, I'm surprised how not stocked it is on shelves.
Yeah, the only time I've seen it in the wild was last week when I was in Tokyo and at the Nintendo store in Shibuya, and they had like Switch 2s that they were like selling to people. But like,
no, that's nice.
That is the official Nintendo store, and that's like their flagship store. So I would have bet they probably get some priority there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were giving demos to people. They were letting them play like the new Mario Party Jamboree, like Switch 2 mini games, and there was a line for that. Man, let me tell you,
crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. Switch 2 turns out another hit that Nintendo has on its hands. So good on them.
Good job, Nintendo.
Good job. A few weeks ago, I had none other than former Game Informer news editor Michael Futter on this podcast to talk about the tariff impacts on the Switch 2 launch. And the news related to that is that we learned that the price of the Switch 1 is going up, and now the Switch OLED is actually almost as expensive as the Switch 2 as a result. But kind of the real reason I'm bringing up Michael Futter is at the end of that episode, we talked about a game that he was working on called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. So this is a game by Strange Scaffold, who has put out like 6 games this year. It's wild how prolific that studio is. This is their licensed property, and it's a really cool blend. Like I got to play like half of it as a preview that's up on GameInformer.com. Really cool blend of turn-based strategy and like the arcade beat-em-up genre that the franchise is so well known for. And to this point, it has only been on PC, but they surprised everybody. I'm surprised. What surprised me was this was not in the indie world. This is a pretty high-profile indie game. They announced this week that it's coming to Switch and Xbox very soon. And by very soon, I mean next week. And the package includes 20 levels, graphic novel inspired art style, and an all new remix mode that adds new enemies, a higher difficulty, and other new content. Wes, did you ever check this out? Did you read Matt Miller's review? Do you have any interest in this game?
I read Matt's review. I've not checked it out. I do have interest in the game. Less from a TMNT standpoint, because I'm not like the biggest Turtles fan, although I do like the original movies. but as a strange scaffold observer, because like you said, that studio is, I don't know, they're an anomaly in our industry. They put out games like nobody's business. I'm actually like trying to get a story with them on something else they're doing, because that's a really cool studio to follow if you want to learn about alternatives to the trends you see elsewhere in games.
Yeah, Xavier is just super smart.
Yes,
Like he has such great insight. He's the head of the studio over there. I talked to him
very
about.
open too.
Yeah,
Just
he
posts
doesn't really.
TikToks, videos, all his business is out there in the open. Like he has no problem sharing.
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, which is harder to say than you'd think, comes to Switch and Xbox on August 14th. Another piece of Nintendo news that was not part of any Direct is we have a new addition to the SNES Nintendo Switch Online library. And I'll be honest, this is one that I've been waiting for. Mario Paint has finally reemerged and is able to be played on both Switch 2 and Switch. The difference is that on Switch 2, you can just use the Joy-Con mouse controls, whereas on Switch 1, you actually need to plug in a USB mouse in order to play this game. If you're unfamiliar, it came with an SNES compatible mouse when you bought this game back in the day. I actually got this game when I was a kid because I was messing around on my dad's weightlifting equipment, and I fell and I gashed open my lip and I had to go get stitches. And my parents basically like bribed me, like, all right, well, if you're good and you just stay as perfectly still as possible while they give you these stitches, we'll get you a Super Nintendo game on the way home. And so that was the motivation I needed to do that. And we ended up having a lot of fun with that. The Fly Swatter game. There's a mini game in there where you're basically using the mouse, controlling a big fly swatter, and you have to go around swatting flies that come up on your screen. That was so much fun. And you can compose your own music.
The music was where I spent all my time. I loved putting the Mario sounds onto like the little table like that.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun experiment, especially back in the Super Nintendo days. Sounds like you do have some history with Mario Paint.
Yeah. I also had it on SNES, and it was one of my favorites. I played a little bit of the mouse game. I never did any of the painting. I spent a lot of time with the composer, because it's like actually pretty in depth, but it uses like Mario sounds, which is really cool, like from the games.
Some of them are Mario sounds. Other ones are like, hey, here's the sound of a baby.
Yeah. And I just loved it. I've always been musical. Like I play drums and stuff. So that game was right at home for me. It's probably one of my most played SNES games looking back.
Same.
And I need to download it on Switch Online.
It's probably top 5 SNES played games for me. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, it's probably like Mario World 1, Donkey Kong Country 2,
NBA Jam is probably my number 3.
NBA Jam and Street Fighter Turbo are probably up. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. God, what else? Mario Kart is probably up there.
Zelda. Link to the Past.
I think Link to the Past is very firmly not in my top 5 unless you count like me playing it in later things, because I never actually owned the A Link to the Past on SNES. I only ever played it on like 3DS and Wii U and Wii.
Oh.
So yeah, I had to go back later to actually beat it.
But I never beat it on SNES. I just stayed in the first area because I didn't understand what I was doing, but loved it.
That also happened to me. By the way, this game's soundtrack was also added to the Nintendo Music app, the Mario Paint soundtrack. So that's fun.
I was kind of a hater of the music app, but I recently got Nintendo Switch Online with my Switch 2. And I gotta say, that music app's pretty dang good. I kind of just wish Nintendo, that's my daughter, sorry, she loves the app as well. I kind of wish Nintendo would put the songs like just on Spotify and Apple Music and elsewhere, but the app itself is actually really nice for discovery and like queuing things up.
Yeah, I'm with you there, where it's like I wish they would put it on like Apple Music and Spotify so I can just add it to the playlist there. But, better than nothing, I guess. Mm-hmm. They also, by the way, added mouse support to Mario Super Picross and Nobunaga's Ambition. So if you want to play those games...
Finally. I have Nobunaga's Ambition. I thought it already had mouse support, TBH, but I guess it didn't. Or maybe that's on Switch 1 or something. I don't know.
I mean, there was no mouse on Switch 1. Maybe it was motion controls?
Yeah, weird. I don't know. Or like a plug-in mouse. But I played a little bit of that game around Switch 2's launch, and I kind of want to get back to it. I'm digging what it's doing.
Nice. I've never played it. Wes, did you see the Lego Game Boy set?
I did, yeah. And it actually plays a game or something like
Nope,
that?
it does not, unfortunately. So it is here it is. And you're forgiven for thinking it will, because that trailer was extremely misleading, I think. So it is a near exact replica of the original Game Boy. It's 421 pieces and includes the face buttons, start and select, as well as the D-pad. But the interesting thing is the cartridge slot, and it comes with Lego Game Boy cartridges that you can put in there. So it comes with the Link's Awakening and it comes with Super Mario Land, that you can choose which one you want to put in there, and then whatever you choose will show up on the display. But the ad that they put out, I think was a little misleading, because it made it seem like it was actually playable. But what it actually is it uses the lenticular screen to show just the start screen of those games. So if you choose the Link's Awakening, it'll show the Link's Awakening title screen, and same thing for Super Mario Land. So
that's Super Mario Land 1?
I think so. 2? I think it's 1.
Why would they do that?
Probably just because it was the launch title.
Yeah, that's fair. But 6 golden coins is where it's at.
Agreed. It comes out on October 1st, and pre-orders are available now for what I think, actually, you don't hear me say this a lot about Lego, a very reasonable price, $60.
That is a very reasonable price. Apps, they could have charged $99, and I'm glad they didn't. 60 is I might actually probably pick this up.
Yeah.
If only to support it so that we eventually get to the Game Boy SP,
yes.
which is Nintendo's best handheld console.
Especially when you consider that the Lego NES, which by the way did come with a little TV, and it was interactive because you could move Mario across the screen, that was $270.
Yeah,
so that's quite the leap up for a similar
Zelda
product.
Stuff is $400, I think. The Deku Tree.
It's wild how expensive Lego, especially the Nintendo Legos, are. But so it's refreshing to kind of see a more reasonable Lego Nintendo collaboration there, even, and especially
420 pieces is not much. So I'm glad they're not charging a lot. That's a quick build.
But they probably could
knock that out in probably under an hour. Yeah,
they probably could charge a lot just because of the iconic nostalgia nature.
Yeah.
So you think you might pick this up?
I think so. Yeah, $60 is very reasonable. I get a lot of Lego. Well, I don't get a lot of Lego. I like Lego, and I like having Lego in my house and stuff. But my wife is a Lego fiend, so I just pick sets that I like, and then she builds them. So I like this set. It'd be cool to have in my office, and like a good husband, I will let her build it.
What a gracious husband. We are going to close on this. Wes, you are heading in a couple of weeks to Cologne, Germany to attend Gamescom.
Yes.
And I ask you this. Are you going to get your hands on Hollow Knight Silksong?
I don't know if I can say. Sorry.
Well, the reason I ask is Microsoft has announced it will be playable at the Xbox booth.
Okay. Then yes, sorry. You threw me off because Gamescom scheduling, a little behind the scenes, is a nightmare. It is the most intense, ridiculous thing I've ever done. It's almost it makes me want to be not going to Gamescom because it's so much scheduling. But so yeah, I was I don't know if I could say, but yes, it will be playable at Xbox's booth. I know when to get there and when I should arrive. It will be first come, first serve. They're not doing appointments or anything. So it's going to be this thing where everybody in Games Press on day one of the press day at Gamescom is going to be rushing to that dang booth. And I'm just hoping I can play it before I have to go run to other appointments. If only to know that it exists and I can tell people here and on Game Informer that it's a real game that's supposedly coming out.
Well, apparently it will be playable on both PC and the Xbox Ally X handheld system that we talked about a few episodes ago.
Yes.
Do you think this indicates that we might get Silksong news during Jeff Keighley's Gamescom opening night live? Maybe even a release date?
I do, actually. And I remember there was a whole hubbub about, I don't know if Xbox said when the ROG Ally is out, you can play Silksong on it, or when when Silksong comes out, it will be playable day one on the ROG Ally X. But the ROG Ally X is expected to come out this year, so like it's making sense that it's time for Silksong, and it is time. It's time.
It is
like
time.
I don't think it's. We didn't get it in this Nintendo Direct, despite millions of people putting all of their energy into the chat to say Silksong. So I think that it is going to be at One Night Live or Opening Night Live. If not there, then I guess Game Awards, but then that means probably 2026, and I don't think that game is 2026. Like, if it's playable at Gamescom, it makes sense that Opening Night Live happens, we get a release date, the next day press can go play the game and capitalize on the hype around the release date and blah, blah, blah. Like, if we know how these companies market, which we do, I think that makes sense.
By the way, I think the last time Hollow Knight Silksong was playable, COVID-19 did not even exist. It was 2019, the last time I think Hollow Knight Silksong.
Unless you're Australian, because it is playable in a museum currently.
Fair enough.
Which
I'm not Australian.
Weird. You're not.
I'm not even going to try to replicate an Australian accent. But Wes, we're going to take our first break, and when we get back, we will have some newly released and upcoming games to talk about. We will be right back. We are back, and now that we have covered all the news out of those two Nintendo Directs, Wes, we have been playing and reviewing new games that are either available now on the Switch eShop or are coming to the Switch eShop very soon. We're going to discuss them pretty briefly on this segment, but one of them is one that, according to your review on GameInformer.com, could very well be one of the best games of the year, and that is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. This is a 2D pixel art kind of retro throwback for the Ninja Gaiden franchise. It's developed by the Game Kitchen, which is the studio behind one of my favorite like Dead Cells-like, Metroidvania-like games, Blasphemous 2. So as soon as I heard about this, I was fully on board. They debuted at like the Game Awards, I think in 2020, it was either 2023 or 2024. I think it was 2024. And I was so stoked for it. I thought it looked incredible. You have played it from start to finish, and your review tells me it is incredible. So tell me about Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a retro revelation. It is 9.5 from me at Game Informer. It's one of my highest reviews of the year.
Probably one of your highest reviews of all time.
Yeah, I think so. I think my highest is Lies of P at 9.75. So a 9.5 is pretty high praise. I think anybody and everybody should play this game. It is fantastic from start to finish. Smartly, the Game Kitchen did not do a Metroidvania, which I kind of feared they might, just because that's what they do, and they do it really well. And I'm sure this would have turned out as a cool Metroidvania, but instead, they really honed in on the retro feel of the older Ninja Gaiden games and created their own spin on it. And I think the coolest thing this game does is it brings in a second protagonist. The first protagonist is Kinji Monzu, who is in charge of protecting the Hayabusa village, or Hayabusa clan's village, while Ryu Hayabusa is off in America doing the events of the first Ninja Gaiden game. About halfway through the journey, he encounters Kumori, who is from a rival clan, and through some shenanigans, they kind of become entwined. And mechanically, what that means is she has ranged attacks and he has melee attacks. And some enemies are blue, like they have a blue ring around them. That means you need to hit them with Kenji's melee attacks. Some enemies are pink, which means you need to hit them with Kumori's ranged attacks. And when you do that, it hypercharges your next attack, which is an insta-kill on any enemy that's not a boss. And so what starts as like a typical Ninja Gaiden SNES throwback, platforming, bouncing off of projectiles and enemies to like continue your platforming momentum, becomes like this almost rhythm game where you're like, pink melee, blue melee, pink range, and you just kind of go back and forth to collect these hypercharges and slash through these ultra hard enemies. So because the game's always telegraphing, this is going to be a tough enemy to kill, you need to get a hypercharge attack, and there's usually like some smaller mob enemies to take out in the area. And it just builds on that from like the momentum begins at the first act and just continues all the way through to the end of the game, especially with the boss fights. The last boss fight is a little not as great as the other ones, but there's some really, really cool boss fights in between that make up for it. And I just adored everything this game was doing. Like I don't really have any problems or issues with it. It's challenging, but it's not as hard as like Ninja Gaiden used to be or Ninja Gaiden is. There's a lot of accessibility options to make the game easier or harder if you want.
Yeah, I saw that.
And with those options, I think it's a game for anybody. Like I don't think you need to be scared of the Ninja Gaiden challenge. It is you can completely turn off damage you take in this game, for example. So like you can just breeze through the levels without worrying about getting hit. The story is cool. It's a very kind of 80s throwback, like some CIA stuff. There's some demons, there's some magical shenanigans and lots of ninjas, and it's really cool. And if you're familiar at all with the Game Kitchen's work, it's beautiful. They are masters of pixel art. This game is a looker from front to back. The stages are inventive. The level designs are really cool in the way that they build your like momentum, both on verticality and side scrolling. It's just a cool freaking game. Like it's one of those games where it's a game that reminds me that like in this medium, gameplay truly is king. Like if the gameplay sings, I'm there, and this game sings on all fronts in terms of gameplay, and even the story's fine and good. I just would recommend this game to anybody. It is in my top 3 of the year easily, I think, and honestly, maybe right now, like my front runner for game of the year. I just loved this game so much so that when I put out my review, part of my like log line or whatever thesis statement for it was like across its 12-hour runtime. And I got so many other reviewers who were like, 12 hours? How did you get 12 hours out of this game? People were beating it in like 3 to 4. But I was like going back and playing levels to get the S rank, and I was trying to find every single collectible. And I was basically just trying to win 100% the game without even realizing that I didn't necessarily need to. I just loved these levels in this game so much that like, oh, I finished a level. I got an A rank. Okay, I know what to do to get an S rank next time. I missed that collectible. I'm going to go back and get that. And I would just immediately do that. And then I would find a scroll to unlock a secret stage. And then I would go do the secret stage, which are even more challenging. And like I put in 12 hours in a 4-hour game by pure fun, which in a review game, you don't typically do. We have embargoes and we're trying to hit time and roll credits. But like with this game, I was just so immersed that I didn't even realize I could have beaten it much sooner. I just could not stop playing it.
So I have been playing it as well. And I got to the part you were talking about where they kind of become intertwined. And you said that this happens about halfway through. And I was just like, wait a second. You said this is a 12-hour game. And I'm like, I am definitely not 6 hours deep in this game. Yeah. And then, so that makes sense that you were talking about that. But yeah, I agree with you though. Like the boss battles are so much fun, which is what Blasphemous also does really well is they have incredible I would say that those are a lot more infuriating, at least the ones that of the Ninja Gaiden Ragebound ones that I've played so far, they don't hold a candle to how difficult and frustrating the ones in Blasphemous 2 were.
For sure. Blasphemous 2 is kind of trying to get to that Souls-like difficulty. I don't think Ragebound gets anywhere near that hard.
No, but it does, it definitely scratches that retro itch. Did you ever play The Messenger?
Funny enough, no, I did not, but it was a game I thought about a lot during this playthrough because I know it's like one of the more heralded games of this ilk.
I wish that, and the reason I bring that up is not only is that like an homage to Ninja Gaiden, like old school Ninja Gaiden, but they also kind of prove your point, which you were like, oh, I hope they don't do like the Metroidvania. And they kind of do both in The Messengers. It starts off linear and it's like, all right, this is really awesome. And then it goes to a Metroidvania and that's when it loses all momentum. Like I thought like the first part of that game was absolutely incredible. And then you get to the second half or the second part. I think it's longer than the half, but like where you're going around doing Metroidvania stuff. And it's like, man, this just does not have that same forward push that the linear levels do. So I'm happy that Ragebound did do that. I was also like half expecting them to do like some Metroidvania aspects just because Blasphemous does that. And like the Game Kitchen is so good at that, but I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah. And plus we have Shinobi coming out soon, which I think is more Metroidvania, right?
It has Metroidvania elements. I got to play a little bit of that a couple months ago. Yeah. It's mostly linear, but there's some exploration. Like there's optional screens that you can go to. And then also like you can teleport back to like a previous world. And like, you're like, okay, now I have the ability to like punch through like breakable floorboards. And it's like, if you do that, like you're like, oh, those gold floors or whatever, those brown floors that I was seeing in World 1 that I couldn't figure out how to get through. Now I have an ability to do that. So you can go back and punch through those floors now. Whereas like, I don't know if it's straight up Metroidvania as much as it's just like, you can revisit areas and now access them, but it's not like a one big continuous ever expanding map the way a Metroidvania typically is.
That's fair. I'm glad these two games are going to be different enough though. Cause like, I don't want to get ninja'd out. And I'm excited for both, but so I'm glad that Game Kitchen stuck with like a way more straightforward approach.
It is definitely the year of the ninja. Last year was the year of Shadow. This year is the year of the ninja. And it's wild. Like you think about all the ninja games that are coming out. There's Ghost of Yotei. There's Assassin's Creed Shadows. There's Ninja Gaiden 4, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance. And that's not even counting like the lesser known indie games. And I'm sure there are tons of ninja games mixed into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's wild that like all of the most prominent ninja IP are getting new releases this year. And in the case of Ninja Gaiden, 2 new releases after not having any new games for a decade.
And we also got the Ninja Gaiden Black re-release.
That's true.
So like Ninja Gaiden this year especially is leading the ninja flag.
Yeah. And it sounds like Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is going to be kind of the clubhouse leader here, the one to beat out of all of them.
It is for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a blast with it. I actually didn't expect it to be as like pixel art as it is, you know, like I turned it on and it, like even the start screen doesn't have like the full screen. It's like a kind of like the 4:3 ratio that the old school games had on like the tube TVs. But then like the game itself is widescreen, but I was like, oh, that's an interesting decision to like really pay homage to like games of yesteryear by doing that like 4:3 ratio.
Yeah.
So that game is out right now on all major platforms, including Switch. But unfortunately, it does not seem as though, as of this recording, there is a Switch 2 upgrade. So if you want to play this and you want the best performance, you either have to get it on Switch and wait for like a Switch 2 upgrade, which I don't know if like some developers have outright said like, oh, we're not going to give a free Switch 2 upgrade. You have to just buy the Switch 2 version. I think was Octopath Traveler was like the latest to do that, where they're like, yeah, you can buy Octopath Traveler on Switch or Switch 2, but we're not going to give you the free upgrade. And it's like, well, that kind of
and
sucks.
Shadows Crossworlds or something like that, isn't that, or Sonic Crossworlds, isn't that doing something weird with their version? But yeah, the reason why you're alluding to the Switch version maybe being something you wait on is because unlike the other versions, the Switch version is capped at 30 frames, which, you know, if you're on the go playing on Switch, you might be fine with that, but like you can play it elsewhere and get a better performance out of the game. It's not like a bad 30, it's like a solid capped 30, but if you want this game to shine at its best, play it elsewhere, unfortunately.
And it is a beautiful game.
Yes, it is.
Not the most visually impressive, but one of the most beautifully like created games in terms of like just capitalizing on the art style and the aesthetic. Like it really nails it. So
the music's incredible too. I don't know if I talked about that, but the music is as good as you'd expect.
It sure is. So anything else you want to say about Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which again is out now on all platforms?
No, I just think more people should play it, especially if you're excited for Ninja Gaiden 4. I think it's going to be a nice little like reminder of where Ninja Gaiden began in games as like a 2D game before we get into the ultra hard 3D stuff that Ninja Gaiden is now.
And as you mentioned, you know, this is kind of running concurrently to the first Ninja Gaiden where Ryu Hayabusa is off in America.
Yeah.
Do you, and that's the original like NES arcade one, right?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Like the first Ninja Gaiden is Ryu goes to America.
I almost would not mind if they just remade that in this art style and this gameplay style, because like, unless they're going to outright, I don't think it's on Nintendo Switch Online, is it? Now that I'm saying it, I'm like, maybe it is. But yeah, like this makes me like have a hunger for more Ninja Gaiden in this style, because it plays so well and it makes me want to experience like more of the story through this style. It's
not on Nintendo Switch Online, but there is a Arcade Archives Ninja Gaiden on Switch for $8. Doesn't appear to be remastered or anything. Like it's just a way to play it. And
Yeah,
then
those
once I
arcade
think,
archives are really cool, but like they are just straight up. This is like the ROM from the arcade.
yeah. And then there's the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection on Switch, which
Oh,
that's I think it's the three like uh 3D Ninja Gaiden,
it
Ninja
is. I
Gaiden
didn't even realize that was on
2, and
Switch.
then yeah, that's
Now
$40.
I'm like looking that up. Yeah, the Master Collection is absolutely just the
The
three
3D.
like 3D ones. All right, it's asking me for age verification. We're not doing that right now. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
yeah,
Like the Switch eShop drives me crazy for multiple reasons, but the main reason is like if I want to look at a mature rated game, it has to ask me for my age. It's like I'm logged
every
in.
single time.
I have
Yeah.
a profile that like tells you my age. It's not like it's like it reminds me of like I think it was The Onion that had the headline of like master hacker accesses Bud Light website by fabricating birth date. It's like yeah,
Yes. January
this
1st, 1950 or something every
exactly.
time. I
Yeah.
do the same thing on Steam. Steam does the same thing. It's annoying.
Yeah. But all right, well, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is available now on Switch and every other major platform. I reviewed another game that came to Switch on the same day, and it probably could not be a more different title, and that is Time Flies.
Yeah.
This is an indie title that I discovered at Summer Game Fest 2023, I think it was. You were at that one, right, Wes?
Yes, that was the one I was at. Yeah.
Okay, so it's such a strange concept. Very minimalist art style, and it's just black and white, and you control a housefly. And at the very start, you select what country you want to be in, and it takes World Health Organization data of life expectancy for humans in those countries and then converts it to seconds that you have as this fly in this run. And basically there are 4 stages and it gives you a bucket list at the start of every stage. And it's like, all right, like, what is it, like 7 or 8 like tasks that you need to complete, and you have to fly around this world. And like the first level is a house, and then the second level I think is a museum, and then there's a sewer, and then another house, and you just have to complete these things, and they're kind of like abstract descriptors. It's like uh travel the globe, and what you do is you have to land on like an actual globe that you would find in a house and walk the full circumference of it. And then it's like go on tour, and part of that, like what that is, I don't want to spoil too many of these because the fun is in like completing these tasks. But like you land on a record player and like you just ride the record all the way around, and like that's how you do it. And so stuff like that is like how you progress, and the way that you do it is you have to make it through the entire bucket list in a single life. And so like if you do like US, you get like 76 something seconds, and if you do like another country that has lower life expectancy, it's like harder. And there are ways to get extra time. Like the way that you get extra time is you find like a clock, like an analog clock, and you push the minute hand backwards, and that adds actual seconds to your clock. But like you still have to really book it around this thing to try and figure it out. And so like it's a game of like finding out the puzzles one by one, being like, all right, what could this possibly mean in this bucket list? Oh, okay, maybe it's this. And then you try it and it crosses it off. And you're like, okay, cool. That's that. I have to file that away in my brain. I'm not going to do them all in this run, but let me see if I can figure out one more before my fly dies. And so you just have to keep going and going and going through that. And then there's a moment, and every single time where you're just like, all right, I am going to try to go for all of these at once. I know where all of them are. I think I have in my head like the best route to get through here. And there were some that I got to at the buzzer where it was like, oh
Mm.
man, like I have like 3 seconds left. I have to complete this task. And thankfully, like once you get into the area of a task, it stops the clock a lot of the times, because like some of them it's like a little bit, you have to be precise with how you do it. So like it zooms in, and that means that like the clock is no longer running. So you have a little bit of time to line up your shot and whatever. So that actually works remarkably well. There's also like optional stuff that you can find, like there's puzzle pieces that you can find, and like there's optional like objectives that you can complete that like are like overarching achievements within the game. Those are fun, but like there's really no like reason to do it, I found. um and then the big thing for me is that it's a game all about like how fleeting life is, which, you know, is a very powerful message. It's illustrated in a really fun and unique way. But the problem is, I think they take it a little bit too literally, because the game is also over pretty much before you know it. Like,
Yeah.
this is like a 2-hour experience, which is 4 levels. And I don't mind a short experience. I actually appreciate a short experience. But it was like, okay, I'm really starting to like love these mechanics and love like the puzzle solving. I think they could have done with one more level, and it would have improved my overall thoughts on this game pretty substantially, just because, like, you
You
know,
really left wanting more.
yeah, and like that's sometimes not a bad thing, but like in this case it just felt like it was over just as it was beginning, and that was frustrating to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a I don't want to say cutscene, but because like none of these are cutscenes, but like at the end when like I finished the final puzzle, there was like a moment where I was just like, oh wow, that was actually kind of like, it made me nostalgic for like the journey I just had, even though this journey was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, time flies. It's out now. It's a short experience. It's fun. It's a really novel concept, and they do some really cool things with it. But like, I think it is pretty cheap. So worth checking out if you want to experience this.
What was your score you gave it?
I think I gave it a 7.25 out of 10.
Nice.
So like I enjoyed it. It just felt like, you know, it was kind of a bare bones experience, and there was some cool stuff in there. Like I really, really liked some of the puzzles, but like it's one of those that's like not particularly replayable unless like you really want to go for like all the puzzle pieces or whatever. But even then, you're not really replaying the levels. You're just going in with the explicit reason of finding those puzzle pieces. You're not like going back and like probably completing all the bucket list objectives unless like, you know, you really want to, but like there's not much point in doing that. So overall positive, but yeah, there's just a couple things that left me hanging a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've been playing another game that we talked about a few weeks ago here, and that is Pokémon Friends. And I don't know if you saw this, Wes. This is the like puzzle-based Pokemon game that came out.
Yeah, like the daily puzzler.
Yeah, so it's a daily puzzle game. I didn't keep up with it when I was in Japan, but like I played like the first like 4 or 5 days after it came out. And this was one of those games where I'm like, oh, that looks like something that's going to like scratch the right part of my brain. Cause like, it's like almost like the puzzles that you would find in like a Zelda or like a Sonic game or a Mario game, where it's like, okay, you've got to walk along and activate all these tiles without like backtracking, and just like kind of one seamless walk, or like you have to connect these dots in a certain way or whatever. Like, so it's like, okay, I can see why this would be really fun. And you got to like, there's another one. It's like, you got to climb up to this one platform, but you got to collect all these things first. And Nintendo provided me a code for the Switch version as well as all the DLC, so I could try out the different puzzles.
It's free on mobile.
Well, no, actually. So the reason I looked into this, Wes, the reason for that is the Switch version comes with like the starter pack that the mobile version does not.
Oh, so the game is well, but you can't buy it. You can't get it for free on Switch though, right?
Correct. Yes, but there's a reason for it. You know, it's actually, if you were to buy all the DLC, including the starter pack that the Switch version comes with, I think the mobile version is slightly more expensive. So that's if you want all the stuff. So it's like a weird like back and forth of, yes, there's no free version on the Switch, but I believe the mobile version is like $2 more expensive if you want all of the content. But I think that's just like a symptom of the fact that like people expect their games to be free on mobile. So I think that's why they took that route, but it does seem like it's all the same content. But like, I played this for a few days and I was like, this is not rewarding whatsoever. You
don't like getting yarn to make little dudes? Little Pokemon
there's
plushies?
there's people you can meet in town that are just like, I really want a Pikachu yarn plushie, and you're like, okay, let me go make you a Pikachu yarn plushie, and then you come back and they're like, thank you for making the Pikachu yarn plushie, and I go, cool, and they go, cool, and then I go, all right, who else? And then it's like you can decorate your room and like with the plushies that you have, but like then you can also like, I don't know it, but like the puzzles themselves, like maybe I'm just super early in this. I feel like I've played enough and I've seen a little bit of the progression, but like they are just simple to a fault. Where it's,
I was gonna say that the trailers made it look like I could solve puzzles in seconds, to be honest.
I was storming through these, and I storming through the puzzles like my name was El Nino. So I no Sum 41 fans in the house.
There's a couple clapping. I can hear them.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Pokemon Friends not living up to what I was hoping for, but yeah, what can you do? Maybe it'll get better.
I think Pokemon too, like we want every Pokemon product to work for us because we're Pokemon fans, but ultimately Pokemon is serving like such a massive global audience that like sometimes maybe this game is just for kids like to play very simple puzzles and it won't activate our brain as much as it will them, and that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I was just hoping that there would be a little bit more challenge in it, but maybe that'll come later on. Maybe it won't. Maybe some of those DLC things are a little bit more challenging. I don't know.
Pokemon's mobile strategy is it's so different from what they do elsewhere. I know this is on Switch, but it's hard to pinpoint where they're going next on mobile devices.
It really is. So that is out now. I think it's $10 on Switch if you want it, and then the DLC is like up to $25 total, I think, and then the mobile version. Yeah. So yeah, but whatever. If you want to play it, check it out. Maybe check it out on mobile first to see if it's your jam. Otherwise, you can grab the Switch version for a premium price. The final game, Wes, that I want to talk about is a game that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. It's not out yet, but I did get a preview build that I got to go hands-on with. Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
Ooh, yeah. Tell me about it.
So this is from the developers behind Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which I would contend is arguably the greatest side-scrolling beat-em-up game of all time.
Oh.
It's up there if it's not in that title.
I'll accept. This is the Streets of Rage team, right?
Well, it's published. Actually Shinobi Art of Vengeance, which is coming out at the end of this month, is the Streets of Rage team.
That's right. Yeah.
But they're both published by Dotemu. At least Streets of Rage 4 was. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which is by the Shredder's Revenge team. And then also, I think the Scott Pilgrim game. I think that's the team that's doing that as well.
Also, I did not know all that. Dotemu also published Ragebound.
Yeah.
So they got their finger on the pulse.
They're crushing it.
Summer. Yeah.
So Marvel Cosmic Invasion is kind of in that same vein, right, of Shredder's Revenge, where it's like a side-scrolling beat-em-up starring like a cast of licensed characters in a licensed world. And it seems like they're really replicating that Shredder's Revenge style. But there's a couple of caveats, right? The one is the levels don't quite seem as intricate. Like you're not like snaking up and down as much as you did in Shredder's Revenge, which is fine. And then the other thing is there is a tag team component to this. So each player, so it's up to 4-player co-op. Each player actually chooses 2 characters to play as. So like if you want to choose like Spider-Man and Venom, you can. Otherwise, you can choose like Rocket Raccoon and She-Hulk. Those were the 2 new characters in the build that I was playing. And there were a couple of others that I played as. I can't quite remember what the characters I chose for the other playthrough that I did, because there were only 2 levels in this demo that I had. And
was Wolverine one of them?
It was Wolverine, and oh my god, why is it slipping my mind?
Spidey? They didn't have no Spidey?
They had Spidey. I did Spider-Man and Venom. Rocket Raccoon and She-Hulk, and then Wolverine and Storm. That was the other one.
Storm, yeah.
Okay, so those were the 6 characters I played as. There were 9 in the build. So the first level, you're playing through New York. There's all of like the Easter eggs in the background because, New York is like the center of so many things in the Marvel universe. But like you see like on the Daily Bugle, like there's like newspapers up on the walls that say like Norman Osborn missing. And then like, of course, one that says like Spider Menace. And so basically the story is Annihilus, who's one of like the big bads in the Marvel universe, is trying to take over this universe, and you're trying to stop him. That's like the elevator pitch of it. And you're going across the cosmos, basically. Both of my levels, though, were taking place on Earth. So it was New York, and Annihilus's like minions are like storming New York. So you're fighting them off. Then you fight Beetle, who is a villain in the Marvel universe. Hasn't been really adapted to any live action stuff as far as I know. But he's taken under control of Annihilus and like powered up. So you have to fight him. And then the second level was the helicarrier. It's a shield helicarrier. I guess they had captured MODOK, and both AIM and Annihilus's forces were teaming up to rescue MODOK. And then in the boss battle on that, it was Taskmaster, which I'm a big fan of Taskmaster. Ooh, cool. So that was fun. And so I would say that actually the character that I enjoyed playing as the most is very surprising to me. It was probably Rocket Raccoon.
That is surprising.
Like every character has like a basic attack. They have like a hero attack, I think it's called, where it's like just something that plays into their powers. And then they have like a special, which is like, you know, kind of like an ultimate ability, which is based on a gauge. So the hero ability has like a counter for most of the time. And then other times, you know, there's a focus meter for like your special. And then otherwise you can just do like your standard attacks. So like Wolverine, he like slashes with his claws. And then if you use like his like hero ability, he actually lunges forward. And if he lands on an enemy, he just like mounts them and basically just starts stabbing them with his claws. And then his like special is like he just kind of goes berserk and like slashes all over the place, and it's like a big AoE attack. And Storm, you know, she can punch, and then her hero ability is like she blasts like just like little gusts of wind basically that like knock enemies back and do damage to them. And then like her special ability is like kind of like this big almost like half screen lightning storm that she calls down, which is awesome. So stuff like that. So and then they also have different abilities in their jumping. So like Wolverine can't really do much in the air, but like Storm, if you hit double jump, she levitates and you can fly around. And then Spider-Man, you can probably guess what he does when you double jump. You double jump and he webs across the screen. So that all differentiates it. But Rocket, like if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, there's a scene in there where the Ravagers are kind of storming where he and Groot are. And he just kind of goes berserk, goes bananas, like just takes everybody out and sets traps and everything. You almost feel like a video game side-scrolling beat-em-up version of that scene because like...
Oh, that's sick.
You know, his normal attack, if you're at range, it's a blaster. If you're up close, it's like a slash with his claws. His hero ability, he throws a grenade. And then his special ability, he like brings out a bunch of guns and just like blasts everything like around him. And then, but also like if you get like he can also like jetpack as well. So like he's very mobile, and so much so that it encourages you to be like fast and nimble with him. If you're sprinting and you attack while you're sprinting, he will actually slide on the ground and drop a trip mine that will detonate when an enemy walks over it. So like it's really playing into like he is just like a scrappy, like running around, like planting bombs, like throwing grenades, blasting people. Like it feels so good playing as him. It was really contrasted pretty harshly when I was playing as She-Hulk and him, because you can trade back and forth. And She-Hulk, I mean, she's a Hulk, so like she's slow and powerful. Like you can do some serious damage, and like her special is like smashing into the ground and it like creates like a shockwave that takes out a bunch of enemies, similar to like Marvel vs. Capcom. But like she is so slow and like bulky that it just felt like such a harsh comparison between those two. And in like beat 'em ups and like side scrollers, I usually tend to go for like the faster, more nimble characters like a ninja. So like I'm not upset at all that we're getting a side-scrolling Shinobi game and a side-scrolling Ninja Gaiden game within the span of a month, all of which focus on movement quite a bit. So
yeah,
I definitely lean towards Rocket and Wolverine. But yeah, I'm excited because there are more characters that they've announced. Like they've announced Beta Ray Bill, they've announced Silver Surfer. It's interesting how they're going for some of these characters that like you wouldn't expect. Like I'm assuming, I can't imagine a world where they're like, Iron Man's not in the launch lineup, but like
no Captain America, no.
Well, yeah. Captain America's in it. He's already in it.
Oh, so Iron Man hasn't been announced.
Correct. Yeah, so Captain America is in it, but like he's the only one of like the original, like the first wave of Avengers from like the MCU. Like Hulk's not in it, Hawkeye's not in it, Iron Man is not in it yet. Black Widow's not in it yet. So like,
is there any like villains you play as? I
No,
know
so
Venom's like an anti-villain, but
yeah, Venom's the closest you have to that from what I've seen. I think the villains are mostly just going to be like the boss battles, but maybe they
yeah,
will. Maybe there's going to be a way to unlock some of those villains. Like, I think they've shown that like Doctor Doom is in it, and like,
that's what I was hoping for. Doctor Doom
God, that would be so
is
sick.
just so cool.
Yeah, one of the greatest villains in comic book history. But yeah, that's coming out later this year. I don't think we have a date on that yet, but
Mm-mm.
I am stoked for that. Like I said, it's from the team that did Shredder's Revenge, one of my favorite like retro style games of like the past like 10 years. So and this is, the Turtles were like the IP that I loved the most growing up, and Marvel is probably the IP that I love the most in adulthood. So it's kind of cool that they're like bringing both of those into the forefront here. But
Yeah.
Wes, we're going to take our final break of this episode, and when we get back, it's story time. We will be right back. We are back for the final time this episode, and we're going to do something a little bit different to close out this show. For this final segment, we are actually going to chat a little bit about our recent trips to Asia. So I'll be doing some Japan story time. I was last week in Tokyo and had quite the adventure. But Wes, you traveled all the way to a different part of Asia. You were in Beijing.
Yeah, I was in China, Beijing and Shanghai for like 7 or 8 days. It might be the first. Is it the first GI trip to China?
It might be,
I got the
honestly.
sense that it might be. And to be frank, like China's not is only just now starting to kind of open its doors in terms of games press coming in. Like they were, I don't want to say closed system, but like they're now branching out to larger audiences, and that means that people like Game Informer are able to go to China now and see games there. I was there for Phantom Blade Zero, which is an already announced Kung Fu Punk game that I had a really great time playing. It was an extremely extravagant and wild event, in part because it was not just for press, it was also for influencers, of which there were hundreds, and also for the public, of which there were thousands. At one point,
Wow.
there was like 2,000 people in this 95-degree, extremely humid, abandoned iron factory. But that's all I'm going to talk about Phantom Blade Zero, because you're going to have to read an incoming issue of Game Informer to hear my full thoughts on it. But let me just say, Phantom Blade Zero is a game to watch out for, and even more so than Black Myth Wukong. If you like Black Myth Wukong, Phantom Blade is going to blow your socks off, I think. It is not a game to miss, but that's all I'll say on that.
Wow.
So yes, I was in China at the same time you were in Asia. It was nice. We were able to like text, and it was the same, like
it's closest time zone. I don't know if
closest
it's the same,
time
but like
zone. Yeah,
a couple
we were on the
hours
same
off at most.
wavelengths. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what was the highlight of, because I've never been to China in my life. Like what were like kind of the highlights of your time there, and how does it compare to somewhere like Tokyo?
So perhaps shocking nobody, the highlight of going to China is the food. It is,
oh my God,
freaking incredible. Like it was it's a different type of eating. And I think it might just be because of the way we were. I was constantly with press and influencers. So you sit down at a table with like 10 others, and it's a big rotating table, and there's just plates and plates of food that just keep coming out. And you really have to get over, I'm not a germaphobe, but like I'll eat after people, but it's like friends and family. But in China, I guess everyone just digs into these dishes with your chopsticks. So you have to get over that real quick, which I did. And you just spin the table around and you grab what you want, and you put it on your plate and you enjoy. And I didn't have a single bad thing. Even this like a soybean fermented bean soup that they were like telling me is terrible. Some of the PR people that lived in China had never tried it because they were too scared of it. I tried it and I was like, this isn't even that bad. It's like, it's fine. Like everything there was delicious. The rice, the fried rice, the noodles, the bao buns, the soup dumplings. Oh my God, the soup dumplings I had in Shanghai, which is where soup dumplings are from. Good God. Just so good. I had like Singapore curry mei foon. Everything I had was just so good and rich in flavor and season. The only thing is I wish it was all spicier. And I suspect typically Chinese food is spicier. I think just because we were with a bunch of people, they were kind of keeping the heat low, which was smart because I was with a lot of people who could not handle spice. Meanwhile, I'm like eating Szechuan peppers with every bite. But yes, the food is incredible. As it compares to the other East Asian countries I've been to, which is Japan and Korea, Japan and Korea are identical pretty much in terms of layout and how they feel to get around and using trains and all that. Like it felt very at home. China was not like that at all. China's very different. Where we were at in Beijing, which is the capital, oddly enough, like I think they're just not too familiar with Americans there or something. Or honestly, maybe given the political stuff happening in this world right now, they just weren't happy to see Americans there because it was the most. Nobody was rude or outright like ostracizing, but like you got looks and people like looked at you and kind of like not standoffish, but yeah. And unlike China and unlike Japan, English is like not really spoken at all. Which I'm the American. Why aren't you speaking English when I come visit your country? In Japan, it's very accommodating. I think people, if they look under the age of 40, they can probably at least understand you and possibly even speak back because they teach English in schools. In China, like English got me nowhere. I had to use apps a lot. And another thing in China is everything is basically on one or two apps, WeChat or Alipay. Every business is on those apps and you put your cards there and like to pay, to order, you order on the app and then you scan it on their little barcode and then they give you what you order everywhere, which I thought was cool. It was kind of nice having everything in your pocket. Like that's where your Uber app is. That's where you buy tickets for movies. That's where you go to this store and shop online. That's where you rent bikes. Everything you do is in that app, which is fascinating. It's a very cashless culture. But yeah, it's the most, I didn't feel like alone or like anything like that. I was with friends and press people and stuff, but it's the most like, alien, I guess I felt, not in like a derogatory way, but just in the most like, oh, I'm like really out of my
your comfort zone.
Yeah, my comfort zone, which I like. That's my favorite part of traveling is getting out of my comfort zone. There was one very rude person, and she was a little, probably 5-year-old girl who me and Hayes Madsen from Inverse, shout out to Hayes, he's awesome.
Yeah, Hayes is great.
We were in a mall across our street, and they had a like a little RC tournament going on, massive RC tournament, like the ones in the Yakuza games. And we're sitting there and I can feel this little 5-year-old just like looking up at me, like staring at me. And eventually her mom is like, where are you from? Where are you from? And I was like, oh, we're from the States. We're from America. And she like bent down, told her girl that. And then this girl looks up at me and Hayes and is like, I don't like them. They scare me. And the mom grabs her and they walk away. And that was the most, I've never had that happen before. I was like,
fair enough though, honestly.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm scared of Americans too right now. We kind of suck on the global stage, especially when it comes to China. Like, I don't think relations are great. So that was funny. It was cute and funny, and I was not actually offended by it. But yeah, so as hot as Japan is, you and me sweated it out together last summer, and I'm sure you sweated a good bit this time in Tokyo.
Yes, I did.
Brother, let me tell you, China is on a level I could not comprehend. I swear to God, it would have killed some of you Northerners because it was twice as hot as the hottest I've experienced in Florida. I could not believe it. It was like 95 degrees with 90% humidity. And I was told we had lots of cloud coverage. And there were people who had been before without that cloud coverage and said it was worse. I think I might die. I was sweating all day long. And I'm just constantly hydrating and sweating. And a lot of countries, the best thing about America, the two best things about America is our air conditioning is the best in the world. And we put a lot of ice in our drinks. And I could not get ice anywhere in China to save my life. And that's all I desperately wanted was ice because I was constantly sweating. I was showering 3 times a day, changing underwear often, changing shirts. Every day I ended with like at nighttime, my shirt would have like a V of like white because of my sweat and like the salt. Wow. Drinking so much electrolytes and Pocari Sweat, which they had in China, which is awesome.
I saw that. Yeah, that's
a drink. Yeah,
like you said,
it's my favorite drink. Yeah, truly. And like it was just the return luggage was disgusting. Like I brought a trash bag to put all my dirty clothes in, but it was like that place is hot. I loved China. I really want to go back. I will not ever be going back in the summer unless it's for like a cool work opportunity. Like I won't choose to go in the summer. I will choose a different time. And then Shanghai is so sick. It has the skyline that you know and love and have seen before. It's the very cyberpunk. It's the coolest skyline I've ever seen. I was with people like Hayes and some people from Future. So we weren't staying there forever, but I could have stayed there for hours and just looked at it because I'm a sucker for neon lights. Shanghai was kind of more my vibe in China. It's the big metropolis, lots of shops, lots of buildings, lots of lights, lots of like street life going on. Beijing was way more like classical, historical China. And so I was able to appreciate it for that perspective. I did go to the Great Wall of China, but that story is for the pages of Game Informer, because one of my more treacherous adventures I've taken, especially on a work trip, no less. But yes, so make sure you are subscribed to Game Informer for that. And I also found a Labubu. That's another highlight of the trip, is I was able to buy a Labubu for $26, which is still aftermarket pricing. I went to the flagship headquarters store where they sell Labubu, and they did not have it, and they haven't had it for months. But I did find a Labubu at like a crane machine store. I bought it for $26. I saved money because it's like $80 here in the States. I went to China and I came home with the Labubu. That's a dub.
I posted on Blue Sky that I have never seen a Labubu in my life, aside from like pictures. Literally 3 minutes later, one of the media people that was out there with me for this event that I was in Tokyo for came down with a Labubu on her bag. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me that I just said that.
Labubu's dream. Was it a Labubu or was it a Lafufu? Some people have these Lafufus out here.
I think it was a Labubu.
Okay.
We're done talking about Labubai. So, yeah. So overall impressions seem very positive about your trip to China.
Yeah, very positive. I think perhaps shocking nobody, China is a wonderful place to go. It's just very hot in the summer. I also want to put it out there that like, I'm telling family and I'm telling people, like I got like a scalp massage before I went, and like I'm talking about China and they're like, oh my, are you going to be safe? Is it like blah, blah, blah? Because, American propaganda does make it seem like China's our massive enemies, which on a political scale, whatever, but like our governments do not make us, thank God. Because then I don't think anybody would like us. Chinese people are extremely nice, extremely open, extremely loving, and like hospitable. They will work with you even through the language barriers and stuff like that. You will get looks, but I think it's just because we're different, and maybe they don't see as many Americans there. And I had two people throughout my trip ask to take pictures with me, and I was like, sure, let's do it.
They're just big Game Informer fans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And like even getting through customs is like, it is a little more of a journey than, going through customs elsewhere, but it's not like scary the way that people like my family probably thought it was when I told them I'm going to China. Like, it's fine. Like, don't let political grandstanding mark a country's influence on you. Like, China is a wonderful place. The people there are really nice. Getting through customs was fine.
Aside from that 5-year-old girl.
Except from that 5-year-old girl. Yeah, I'm coming back. That was the funniest part, was I was like, you're insulting me in my language that you don't like.
That's so funny.
Like, she made a point to be like, I want you to know I speak English just so you can know that I don't like you because of that. Mad respect, honestly. So yeah, China is fantastic. It's a must go. I'm trying to think if there's anything I didn't. Funny enough, now that I'm thinking about it, I did not have an egg roll the entire time. Wow. I don't know if that's an American Chinese thing or if it's like they have them there, because I actually didn't even see them, but I didn't have an egg roll. But everything else I had was awesome.
The first time, it took me to like my third trip to Japan to have like a good bowl of ramen.
Oof, that's crazy.
I know. Well, that was like the only bad meal I'd ever had in Japan for like the first couple of trips. Was Ben Hansen and I were out there for the Pokemon Sword and Shield cover story in 2019. And we were just like, we need to find some place to eat. And we went down to like this basement and we ordered food, and I was like, oh, I want this ramen. So I got the ramen, and I was like, this is like the most underwhelming bowl of ramen I've ever had in my life. I have since made up for that.
Yeah,
especially
so much good ramen.
The one we went to by the Tokyo Skytree, Takesu Premium.
Yeah,
that place absolutely rules. I did not go back this time, unfortunately. But yeah,
what did you do though?
That segues into my experience. So
yeah,
I was out there, and I was staying in Akihabara, which is the first time I've ever stayed in Akihabara, which is cool because I can just go out and like be like, all right, I have like 2 hours to kill. I'm just going to go shopping. And
were you like staying? I didn't realize you were staying there. Is that like, I didn't even know people could stay there. Are you right there like on the main street?
I was like 2 blocks from like the main street.
Oh, that's cool. Was it loud or no? Because
No, everything was kind of quiet. Like I would think like Shinjuku would probably be like the loud place to say, but even then, when I stayed there for, I think it was the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth cover story, it was not particularly loud.
Nice.
So I did shopping. I went up and down that street so many times. I always make it a point to get like Japanese copies of like some of my favorite games and bring them back. Like the first time I ever did it, I got Ocarina of Time. This time I got Sonic 3, which is fairly rare.
Ooh, nice. You were looking for
Japan.
That last time we were there.
Yeah. So like Sonic and Knuckles is exceedingly rare to the point that it's like $360 to buy a copy of Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic 3 was like $80, and I was like, you know what? It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's kind of rare to find a good copy, like complete in box and everything. So I grabbed that. I got a copy of Super Mario Kart on SNES.
Nice.
Got a copy of Shenmue 2 on Dreamcast, since that version never came to the US. Because you may recall the Dreamcast was shut down, and they released Shenmue 2 in the US on Xbox.
Yeah.
And then I when I was getting Shenmue 2, I was like, well, what's this? And it was Soul Calibur 1 on Dreamcast, and it was like $6. And I'm like, well, I gotta get that. One of the greatest 3D fighters of all time. So that was my haul. I also grabbed, because when you and I were out there, I grabbed the Nintendo magazine. That is a quarterly magazine that Nintendo puts out. I believe it's quarterly. So that one was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, I think, or Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. This one is the special Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
Yeah.
And it really is just like, it's not Nintendo Power by any stretch. It's really just like ads and stuff. It's a free thing, but it's one that like, I still wish that they had it in the US. It's very cool. As somebody who, you know, we work in
physical media,
so like we appreciate like having these magazines, but yeah, it's cool to have like an official Nintendo magazine over there in Japan that you could just like pick up. And I the first time I went up and I was like, hey, like, excuse me, how much is this? And he was just like, it's free. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, in that case, I didn't want to walk out of a store with a magazine and then next thing you know, I'm arrested as like a foreigner in Japan. I don't want to do that.
Did you get that at the Shibuya store?
No, I got that at it was like it's the same place I got the Luigi's Mansion 2 copy, which it was just like a store, like a department store in Akihabara. They just had it sitting out in the display. So I also paid one final visit to the Akihabara Gigo 1 arcade, which was previously the flagship Sega arcade in Akihabara. I think Sega sold it in 2019, 2018, something like that. I think it was Sega the first time I went. So I think it was still up in 2019, but like shortly after that, it got converted to Gigo. And so
2022 actually.
Okay, so yeah, at least the first time that I went there, it was Sega branded, which was cool. Now all the Sega branding is gone. Sega kind of got out of the arcade business, which is sad. But yeah, spent my first full day there. Second full day, I met up with Dale North, who you may know as a composer of games like Wizard of Legend, several other like really, really great indie soundtracks. I think he also does the music of Kit and Krista's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. And he's done some jingles for like, I think he did like one of the jingles that played on like the eShop at one point. So he's done a lot of really high profile work. He also was the former editor in chief of Destructoid back in the day.
Does he live there or was he on the trip?
He was there, I think, for work, but he was there for like a couple of months at a time. But he was leaving the day after we caught up, and we had a couple cups of coffee, went and got some food, some katsu. So that was great. And yeah, just all around good dude. So glad I was able to catch up with him. It's the first time I've seen him in probably like, I think since E3 2019 was the last time I sat down and chatted with him. So it's been a while. So the next day I was like, all right, well, what do I want to do? And I decided I was going to go to Kamakura, which is like a coastal town about like an hour and a half train or by train down south of Tokyo. And it's like right on the coast. absolutely beautiful scenes, really
It's one Matt
charming
always
town.
recommends. Matt Miller, our
Yeah,
editor in
Matt Miller
chief,
was
is
the one who
always like,
recommended
you should
me.
go there.
A
Yeah.
lot of Buddhist temples there. From what I understand, this is actually where like Buddhism was brought to Japan, was through this port. And so I was like, all right, let me do that. I'll hang out on the beach a little bit. I'll go around, see all these temples. I did not make it to the beach, and the reason for that is I was one stop away. I transferred a couple of times on the trains. One stop away, everybody's phone erupts in sound throughout the entire train. If you've ever been to Japan, you know that like trains are typically like quiet areas. Like you're not supposed to like
on
have like
purpose.
super loud conversations. You're not supposed to have like phones making all kinds of noise. So the fact that these phones were just like spouting off sound was like, okay, what's going on? Including mine, by the way. And I looked at it and it said in Japanese and English, tsunami warning. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I had not heard about the Russian earthquake, which hit that morning at that time.
It's like an 8.8 too.
8.8. One of the, I think it's like the 6th most powerful recorded earthquake in history, which is devastating. So I was like, all right, well, like I'm here already, so I guess I might as well just like walk around. And even though like I'm right on the coast now, so I'm walking through town, and like I looked up like the first temple I wanted to go to, and it's like, okay, well, it's like a 25-minute walk this way. So I walk through I almost said Times Square, Town Square, walking around, get out there, and I like start hearing the tsunami warnings, like the sirens emanating through the streets as I'm walking through these neighborhoods to get to this temple. And I'm like, okay, well, nobody seems to be panicking. Like the people who live there are just kind of walking around. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I get up to this temple and I have to walk up like so many flights of stairs, and it's up in the mountains basically. And I walk through and I'm like, oh, wow, that's a really impressive like Buddha statue. And that's like a really cool like gold statue over here. All right, I think I've seen everything I need to see. I'm going to start walking out. I walk over and a man comes out with a megaphone and speaks in Japanese, and then another man with a megaphone walks over and says like, the tsunami is incoming. We advise everybody to please stay here because we are up in the mountains for the next at least 30 minutes. And we will advise you further soon. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. All right, I'll just hang out here for a little bit. And there's like a balcony that overlooks the water. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to have like kind of a front row seat for this, even though I'm safe. So I go up to like the balcony and I'm just chilling there, and all the sirens are going off, and I'm just like, oh man, like this is getting intense. And then like nothing really happened, and like things kind of like progressed without like, but I was up there for 2.5 hours. It was not 30 minutes. It was 2.5 hours. And I posted this on Blue Sky. I'm like, yeah, I've been stranded in the mountain temple for about 2.5 hours. And I was like, wow, that's a really like Zelda sentence that I just said. Like I'm stranded in the mountain temple as a tsunami approaches. So walked out, went around, did a lot more stuff, visited a lot of temples. So the tsunami ended up not happening the way that they were anticipating, which is a good thing, very, very good thing. And so I visited other temples, shrines, everything. And I'm walking in between this one shrine that's like carved into the side of a mountain, which is very neat. And then there's like, okay, well, you have to walk through like this neighborhood. But in order to do that, to get to like this next area that I'm going to, you have to like, it took me through like this hiking trail. And I'm like, all right, well, this looks like it's off limits, but I'm just going to follow Google Maps and it's going to take me down there. So I'm walking, and it really feels like if you've gone off-roading on a hiking trail where it's like the things are all overgrown and like the steps are like really uneven and like there's giant rocks in the way. And I'm basically like climbing over these rocks to get to the bottom of this. So much so that I was like, I should not be down here. So I turned around and went back up. And then I looked at like what the alternate route was, and it added like 15 minutes to my walk. And I'm like, it's really hot right now. I've been on my feet for a really long time. So I started walking down, and like, I just like kind of like brute forced my way through this like trail that was like very clearly like nobody's paid attention to in like at least a year. And I get down there and I see a sign. I'm like, I wonder what that sign says. It's like, what, did I just walk illegally down here? And it says like such and such trail, basically says like, beware active beehive or something like that. And I'm like, oh, so
I walked the boss of the dungeon.
I basically walked through like an active beehive without realizing it. And it's like, I'm glad I didn't linger and like take selfies and whatever.
You could have like been stung by a whole, and you just would have been alone probably. And
yeah, I would have. Yeah. So that was not great. so yeah, I'm walking around, I do all the stuff, and I'm walking back, and it's like, okay, well, this itinerary that I found online is like there's shops, right? And it's like this is how it ends, and like this is your final approach, and then you can go to either left to go to the beach or right to go to the train station. I'm like, cool. I've been here way longer than I expected. I'm just gonna hop on a train. So I'm walking through the shops. All the shops are closed. Like most of them are. There's a few that are open. I go in, get a couple souvenirs, and then I keep walking. And I'm like trying to find a restaurant because I'm starving at this point. I went to a Sakura stand and got like some dumplings and steamed buns, like while I was stranded in the mountain temple. But that was the extent of the food that I had all day. So
Oof.
I'm like starving at this point. And I finally, the last restaurant, I try to go into multiple restaurants, and like they give me the like, no, we're closed. And I'm like, all right, well, like, what am I going to eat? It's like 3:40 at this point, I think. And I find a burger spot, get a burger with like wasabi mayo and everything. It was incredible.
Like a
So
burger or like a hamburger?
like a actual like burger, like a
Oh, nice.
cheeseburger,
Hell yeah.
like an
Yeah,
American
yeah.
cheeseburger, but it had like wasabi mayo and like wagyu beef and
Oof.
everything. It was
Oof.
incredible.
Yeah.
So had that, and I'm like, great. I have the energy now to like head to the train. I'm gonna grab like a bottle of water out of the vending machine, and then I'm gonna hop on a train and head back to Tokyo. I
You
get
thought.
to the train station, and basically like there's a giant line of people out front, and I'm like, what are they waiting for? It's weird. And then I go up, and there's a sign that says all service suspended, and I'm like,
Mm.
uh-oh. And you can just walk in because normally you have to scan a card to get into the train station.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
just, they have those open, so you can just walk right in. And inside, in both English and Japanese, there is a voice urgently saying, warning, tsunami is approaching. Please seek shelter in the hill on the west side of the station. And I'm just like, well, this doesn't sound good at all. So it was just kind of like they shut down the station basically for like the day.
Yeah.
And like nobody was in the station whatsoever, like no employees, nobody to guide you of like where to go. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll catch a bus. So I go over to the bus stop, and the bus is also suspended. And I'm
Bruh.
like, this sucks. So I'm like, I'm staying, like, I'm far away. Like, I can't walk anywhere. I can't, like, so I try to call an Uber. And the line out front, by the way, was for the taxi. So they were like, it's going to be like a 3.5 hour wait if you stand in this line.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, well, I'm not doing that unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So I am like trying to call Uber. Uber's not picking up anybody because they're all like devoted to getting people out in that line. So I'm like, great, what am I going to do? So I hear this, I'm waiting in the line for the taxi. There's a shorter line that I went to around the back that I was waiting for. And it was like a taxi was coming like every 20, 25 minutes. So there was a long, long wait.
Yeah.
So I hear in English, is this the line for the bus or the taxi? And I'm like, I can talk to these people because like Kamakura is like outside of Tokyo. So it's not as common that people speak English. Like there were a few people in like the service places that I went to that spoke English, but like when I was ordering from the Sakura stand, there was no English. I was just like pointing at like the stuff that I wanted. And so like there were no station employees or anything. So I hear these people speaking English, and I talk to them. I get to know them. They're like, oh yeah, we're from Holland, and we're here on like all tourists, and like we're visiting here for the day, and we got stranded, so we're trying to figure out a way to get back to Tokyo. I'm like, perfect. That's what I'm trying to do as well. So they basically adopted me. So we were like, okay, well, there's a bus that's coming, and we're trying to figure out where this bus is coming, so we don't want to miss it. So we go over to the bus stop, and it says all buses are suspended. I'm like, yep, great. So we're waiting in the line, and then some guy, I guess he lives there, or he's from Tokyo or something. He's like, are you trying to get to Tokyo? Because the people in Japan are extremely accommodating, extremely helpful. Like if you look like you don't know how to get somewhere, they will stop what they're doing and like ask you what you're trying to do, and they will walk you through the map in the train station. This guy is like, if you go over here to City Hall across from the Starbucks, they're running buses to the monorail station 40 minutes away. You can get the monorail, take it to Afuna station, and then you can hop on that train up to Tokyo station and then divert to wherever you. So it's this whole process. So we all walk over to this city hall, and we're just sitting in this city hall, this Japanese city hall, and they're like telling us to wait along the wall. Like there's like all these like chairs that they've lined up, and there's like hundreds of people trying to get back to Tokyo. They have these buses just coming in like every 15 minutes. And eventually we got there. But while we're waiting, this news station in Kamakura is coming by and interviewing people, asking them questions. And like,
did you get to do it?
No, but like the person in the group did. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I did that. And I got back that night and I was like, I am so tired. I was sunburned to oblivion basically because I didn't know I was going to be stranded in a mountain temple.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm just gonna go and unwind. I found a sushi joint like not far from my hotel.
Yeah.
Walked over there, got some sushi, got some shrimp tempura, got some Asahi super dry beer, and I was like, this is the perfect way to end the night. And I'm walking back, and now that I have some sushi in me, I'm like, I've got some energy, and I see the arcade in Akihabara, and I'm like, that is the perfect way to end the night. So I went and spent like probably like $15 in yen playing some arcade games to kind of wrap up my night. So that was a great ending to a very, very stressful day. And then also I didn't point this out, but I also did the Parco building in Shibuya, which newly has a Sega store that opened up, which was very cool to visit. So I got, if you're watching the video version, you can kind of see I have like this like colorful Sonic plushie that is sitting next to my Link plushie from Breath of the Wild. He was a cool little find that I got at the Sega store. I went to the Nintendo store, the Pokemon Center, the Capcom store, all those shops.
Sega store on the same floor as Nintendo and
it
Pokemon?
Is.
That's awesome. Where's it at? What did it take over?
I think there was like an anime shop that they grabbed the spot of, if I'm not mistaken.
Not the Jump one, right? Not the one with One Piece and all that?
I don't think so. I think that one's still there. Yes, that one is definitely still there because I walked around that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit down the hall. I think there was like maybe an esports actually.
Oh, yeah, the esports lounge thing. Yeah, I remember that. And that's cool. It looked awesome. The pictures you posted.
It is very, very cool. They had a lot of really great like a Dragon stuff and Persona stuff and Metaphor stuff. I only got the Sonic thing because I was like, I need to pace myself. I'm like, I could spend so much money every single time I go to Japan. So
yeah, it's easy.
I had to pace myself a little bit. But yeah, you came back with COVID. I came back.
Not funny enough. People keep making the low hanging fruit joke of like, oh, you went to China and got COVID. I legitimately do not think I got it from China. On my flight, I went from China to Seoul and then Seoul to Atlanta. That was a 14-hour flight. The two ladies next to me, bless their souls, hacking up their lungs the entire time. It was one of those, I had a mask on. They did not. It was one of those flights where I'm just like, I know it's coming. I know it's coming for me. And sure enough, a day after I got home, I started feeling bad and tested and had COVID. And has not been kicking my butt the way that apparently this strain is kicking a lot of other people's butts. So I'm fortunate for that. Shout out to vaccines. But yeah, quite unfortunate to come home with COVID. Just a little reminder that COVID is still out there, even though our government acts like it's not.
Well, I also came home not in the best feeling. My leg started bothering me about halfway through my trip in Tokyo. So I was like, I'm just walking around a lot. It was right after the Kamakura stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I was on my feet that whole day. I was wearing like basketball shoes, not like my running shoes or like orthopedic shoes or anything like that. So I'm like, I probably strained my calf. It got worse over the course of like the week that I've been here. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the doctor and check it out. And it turns out I have a blood clot in my leg from the very long flight. I also am down for the count. I can't fly right now. I can't do a lot of stuff that I like to do. Like going to the gym.
Play DDR.
Can't play DDR anymore. So we both got impacted from our flights to and from Asia.
Yeah, we did. It was that was another thing I didn't mention about China. 25 hours with no delays to get there, like of flying, not like layovers. Like I did 25 hours of flights. I had while you were going through earthquake and tsunami, Shanghai, which is where I was at the time, was going through a typhoon warning, and it hit hard on our last night, like flooding Shanghai. The PR that with us at the hotel was like, we really, 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 really don't want you guys to go out. You can if you want, you're adults, but like, please don't. And we listened. We did not go out.
Yeah.
And delayed our flights. And I left China at 7. Like I left my hotel at 7 a.m. and I did not get home till 1 a.m. the next day here, which would have been 1 p.m. the following day in China. It was like a 32-hour travel day. So my body was ripe to be taken by COVID because it was weak and tired and exhausted and malnourished. So if you are going to China one day, that travel day is no joke. It is the biggest travel day I've had by far, ever.
Well, I'm glad you're on the mend. I am currently on blood thinners to get rid of this blood clot. And
we can do this.
We are surviving, but overall, I think that both of our trips were very, very positive. We had a great time. I love Tokyo. I know you love Tokyo, and it sounds like you love Beijing and Shanghai as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Tokyo's still my number one. I don't know if anything's going to beat Tokyo. It's the best city on earth, but Beijing and Shanghai were a really good time. I'm excited. I would like to go to Asia now, not in the summer. I will say I've done my last 2 Asian trips were in the summer, and I get it. I understand that season. I'm ready for a new season.
It is sweltering.
Yes. Yeah.
And my last 2 trips to Tokyo have been at the same time of the year. And yes, it's very hot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we head out, I did want to take a moment to extend my sincerest thanks to everyone who listens to All Things Nintendo. There's no pomp and circumstance, but this, believe it or not, was episode 200 of All Things Nintendo.
Whoa, what? 200? That's crazy.
Right?
I thought you were going to say like 100.
No.
So I started been doing this for 200 weeks? That doesn't make sense.
Well, I started it in 2021. So that's 4 years ago, around the launch of the Switch OLED. And the original vision for this was actually a column on GameInformer.com, but at Andrew Reiner's suggestion. So I think around this time, Reiner was trying to build up like a kind of like a Game Informer podcast network. We had Video Gameography, which was hosted by Ben Reeves and then later Marcus Stewart. We had From Panel to Podcast, which was Reiner's comic book podcast, and of course the Game Informer show. So we were kind of slowly building up kind of the Game Informer podcast network, which unfortunately was decimated by people leaving and layoffs under our previous owner. So at that suggestion, I turned this into a podcast, which has now been going strong for nearly 4 years. Crazy. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everybody who has joined me on this journey as either a listener, community member, Patreon supporter, or like you, Wes, as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been on multiple episodes, and it's always a joy.
Yeah, it's fantastic having you on. This podcast is, always, it's a labor of love, right? Like that, first and foremost, it's something that I absolutely love doing, but it is also a lot of work, especially when you have a full-time job outside of this. So without the wonderful people who listen to this show each and every week, and more importantly, the people who support it, I would not have the motivation or the ability to continue churning out these episodes week after week. So I just want to close out by thanking everyone for helping me get to episode 200. And hopefully I will have a lot more coming your way. But for now, Wes, thank you so much for joining me for this landmark episode of All Things Nintendo.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As you know, my Patreon and the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in. But you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Wes, tell everyone where they can find you online.
You can find me on Blue Sky at just Wesley LeBlanc. That's like my most primary source of social media. I'm a little more active than usual on Instagram, which is annoyingly I_am_Wesley_. And I am trying to make TikTok a thing for me. My TikTok is Wesley LeBlanc 7. On this China trip, I was with a bunch of content creators, and it kind of gave me the inspiration and lack of embarrassment to film publicly because they were doing it, and I was like, you know what, I can do it too. And so I'm trying to make that a thing. We as we just discussed, we get a cool perk of the job is traveling, and I document it a lot for myself, and it's cool to I want to post and share what I'm seeing and doing. So that's what I'm trying to make my TikTok is a view into the travel that we have here at Game Informer. We're so lucky to have.
I'm doing the same stuff over at the All Things Nintendo podcast and my personal Instagram, or All Things Nintendo with Instagram. But that is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. before we wrap up this episode of All Things Nintendo, I just want to give a special shout out to the $10 patrons of the show. Alex Stadnick, Andy Junkins, Ben Richland, Carbon Mjolnir, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jason Thompson, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, KC Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper 207, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zachary Pliggy, and Zek 3 Sword Sama. Thank you so much for your continued support week after week.